I'm informed that we have gone live. How
Excellent.
cool is that? Click of a
Yay.
button, and here we are. Good morning to everyone, and thank you for tuning in, whether you're live or on a replay. We have another special show lined up for you today. And first off, let me ask you some questions. Do you lack
Okay.
purpose in your life,
Yeah. Hi, Danny. Hi.
or can't seem to get ahead despite your best efforts? This manifestation stuff seems to work for others, but not for you. What if there was another way? Would you be interested? My guest on the show today assists others, which can be you too, to tap into the quantum electromagnetic field so you can live a more purposeful life. I have a feeling this will go deeper than usual, even if you're familiar with these concepts. Give it up for Craig Whitewood, everyone. Thanks for joining me, Craig.
Hi. 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 Yeah. Thank you, Danny.
Cool. It's good to finally get you on the show. And I don't know much about you either, so I'll be learning this firsthand, like everyone else. And I wonder if you could share something of your background and how you got into this quantum jumping, this spiritual um, modality or pastime. I don't know what you'd describe it as.
Yeah. We could probably go with modality. um, yeah. It's well, been an interesting journey, and since I was very young, 5, 6, I remember having spontaneous out of body experiences, shooting up into the cosmos from my bed, and
Wow.
yeah, ju- just feeling like life was a dream from very early on, and having some poor experiences as a child, as many of us do. It's yeah, it just had a dreamlike quality to it. And interestingly, my daughter, she's 7 now. She's asked me, "Is it all a dream?" And we were discussing this in a video call last night. She's over in Morocco on holiday at the moment, and yeah, she's like, yeah, it does feel like a dream, doesn't it? And ask a chip off the old block. She's asking me what reality is and things. So, and yeah, I got into psychedelics in my teenage years, psytrance music, and all that stuff, mushrooms and LSD, and yeah, just having a great time there. And yeah, it's a very shamanic scene anyway. And yeah, then later on, I got into sound healing, working with sound frequencies. That kind of set the stage. Really moved into qualifying in cognitive behavioural hypnotherapy, and that was just as the COVID extravaganza hit, and then started working with a friend of mine, Jade Shaw. We did some online masterclass stuff with a guy called Jean Mind, who's a hypnosis and illusionist expert over in Brazil, inducing OBEs through hypnosis. So that really, I was like, yeah, this is it. And because self-induced OBEs can be a lot more complicated to do without the hypnosis, so it just became, it really suited me, having just done a hypnotherapy course, moving into the hypnosis side of it to induce a out of body experience, or OOB. And yeah, then I studied with it was just an online course with the Monroe Institute guy called I've forgotten his name now. Sorry, that's gone from me. I'll come back to that. I'll mention it in a minute. I'm sure it'll spring back to mind. Mr. Goldman, Bert Goldman. And yeah, so that was just a little online course with the quantum jumping, which essentially is more targeted out of body experience through guidance. And then you can self-induce them quite easily after a little while of practice with guided stuff, so it doesn't take long. And you can start actually having bi-location experiences just through washing the dishes, something like that. And yeah, it brings in quantum entanglement. I'm not a quantum scientist as such, but yeah, the our energy bodies affecting the goings on in the multiverse, so we can affect a life that's going on in a parallel universe. Oh, your mic's gone there. I can't hear you now. Oh. Danny, I can't hear you.
Sorry, is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, sorry. I remember Bert Goldman. He popped up some years ago, and he was 80, in his 80s. I haven't seen an update from him since 2019, so I don't know if he's okay or if he's retired now. But I tried some of his quantum jumping back in the day, and it didn't seem to do much for me, to be honest. I know he said he would go and want to be a painter, do a quantum jump, and come back, and he would start painting. And I'm thinking, surely it can't be that straightforward, or it depend on your level of evolution, your level of spiritual growth. Is it for beginners, intermediaries? What's your take on this?
Yeah, and I've heard that as well, and I think it was the depth of the training that he provides. So it was all very surface level, and I think you needed maybe a deeper background in hypnosis and sound frequencies as well, which I had. So I took to it straight away. So that's allowed me to then facilitate it for other people by bringing in my own techniques and skills. So yeah,
Right.
I've heard that before. So
yeah, I'm quite open to things as well. So I was a bit disappointed, and I had a feeling your take on it would be more involved, would go deeper, and it wouldn't be just as simple as doing a 5-minute meditation, where you meet an alternative self in a different dimension or plane of existence, and then come back, with all this knowledge. Don't get us wrong, I'm not saying that's never happened, but certainly at the time it wasn't my experience.
yeah, I totally go with that.
Yeah, so what type of situations can this work for?
We can work on emotional issues, blockages, anything that's coming up. So a lot of people with manifestation, law of attraction, they do get stuck, and it's just releasing those blockages. We can do that with the quantum jumping a lot easier than we can with just using willpower and positive mindsets and the standard things that are taught with manifestation. Because a lot of the blockages are a lot deeper, and they can go back a lot further than just our current life. So they can go back to either past lives, or they can go ancestral lives. So I was discussing this with a colleague last night, and she's an experienced quantum jumper as well, and she had an inherited disorder. She was born with loads of eczema on her hands, and later on through quantum jumping she resolved that issue, and it took her going back to quite a long time ago ancestrally, so many generations, where she then had to go and resolve that issue in the quantum field, and then come back, and then literally within a few days it had cleared up, which had been persistent for since she was a baby. Yeah, so some really awesome things can be done with this. Very excited about it most of the time.
So, sort of backtrack a little bit. You mentioned an out-of-body experience. Do you have to have an out-of-body experience in the true sense to get benefit from quantum jumping? Because I know you mentioned you could get benefit whilst doing the dishes. So is there? I don't know if you could just kind of backtrack what the preparation might be, and the more you do it, the easier can you reach that sort of that brainwave or whatever it needs to be.
Yeah, I mean, practice with anything, obviously, you get better and better, and to choose a Bert Goldman phrase, and he explained it in his work. But yeah, you can to start with, you're inducing an out-of-body experience through hypnosis, so you're putting the body to sleep, and you're allowing the energy to come out of your body, your bioenergy field, to leave the body. Call it your aura, if you like. It can be your auric field. That's a bit easier to explain for some people. And then you can bilocate with that, so you can go to different locations with an out of body experience, and that can be utilizing your imagination. So you can go to a world where, for instance, everything's how you want it to be. Or you can, even in a shamanic context, you can go and merge with a bird and get a bird's eye view of something. So, the ancient shaman used to quite often actually merge with birds to go and look at animals that they needed to hunt for the next day. So they would go out I find their location, and then the shaman would come back, merge with that experience, and then provide the information of the location of where the deer were, for instance, or the bison were, that they were going to go and hunt for the next day. So those are some of the things you can do. And then with the quantum jumping, we're going to other lives. We can visit ancestors in the multiverse, so a parallel, because all time exists now, so there's no real future or past, so everything's existing at once in the multiverse, and we can go and visit and merge with another version of ourselves. As Bert would call it, a doppelganger, although that's not my preferred phrase. And we can bring back some of that energy. And then as soon as we bring back some of that energy, we can, with practice, we can keep revisiting that version of ourselves. Or if it's an ancestor, we can keep visiting the ancestor, bring back some of the energy that we need to harness in this reality to overcome some of those issues. Or a future version of ourselves as well. Oh, your mic's gone again.
Sorry, I've got noises going on in the background. That's why I keep turning my mic off. We've got Shameen Lakhani on the stream. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for popping up.
Hi Shameen.
Well. Yeah, and I wondered, got Diana Lane as well. She's saying, "Ooh, this is interesting. How can we go quantum jumping?" We'll get to that, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be opportunities to do that before this live stream, ends. We'll give some resources. How has quantum jumping enhanced your life? And I know it could be a nice segue into some exciting news that you shared before we went live.
Yeah, exactly. So just the more immediate thing that you've just mentioned there, it's come up with one of my quantum jumping group members has introduced me to her mum, who's from the US, who happens to be an experienced quantum jumper. And we had a lengthy discussion late last night. That's probably why I'm looking a bit tired this morning. And we also did the group jump as well. So yeah, and it turns out she's moved to Egypt. She does a lot of quantum jumping, although, and she's done the Bert Goldman stuff as well. She's followed him for many years, and although she's like myself, she's come up with her own way of doing it, which is a lot more effective. And yeah, so we're going to organise some ancestral healing at the pyramids. She's moved to Egypt, so we're going to do that. So yeah, we quantum jumped into that reality very smoothly.
Yeah, it seems like it doesn't matter how big we think the universe, God, source, whatever, can think bigger and put us in connection with other people who can really sort of bring us along to serve more people, perhaps bigger than we had thought of.
Well, exactly, and your for instance, your last guest as well, Rachel. We've now met and been on you and myself were on a podcast discussion group yesterday, weren't we? So yeah, we've met, and since then agreed that we're going to have a chat and get the ball rolling on doing some work. And I think I'm going to join one of her business groups that she set up as well. So yeah, lots going on there.
Yeah, that's right. How do you think quantum jumping differs from, the usual manifestation process of, just meditating and getting into the feeling and maybe it's affirmations and visualization and reading out, your intention and desire? How do you think it differs from that? Is it similar? Is it very different? Is it more effective? How
I
would
think
you?
it's more. I think it's deeper and it's more effective. It's got more longevity, whereas we quite often with the manifestation stuff, the traditional way of doing it, it provides a few surface level achievements, but it doesn't necessarily always go as deep and have that longevity. Whereas quantum jumping, you really are resolving the issues and releasing the blockages, and then that allows you to manifest a lot quicker and a lot easier.
Cool. Do you think, here's a question just popped into my mind, do you think we have unlimited potential that we can access through, the quantum field, the electromagnetic?
Absolutely, it's infinite. It's absolutely infinite, and we've got the multiverse to play with. So once we're accessing these altered states, as it were, then we start to see the absolutely unlimited aspect of it.
Yeah, so I've heard stories of people who couldn't paint to save their lives now of painting, in exhibitions. I can't sing. Well, I can sing, but I can sing badly. But that doesn't really count. I wonder if I could become a good singer. I quantum jumping. That's using it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, we can envisage though that other version of ourselves that can sing, and with practice keep going to visit that person, that version of ourselves. I shouldn't say person. That's, we're getting into legal stuff there. That's for another live, which is that's a bit of a hobby of mine, delving into that stuff. So yeah, it's just a matter of like I said, the practice. So keep going back to that version of ourselves and bringing back that information. I'm personally convinced that places like Egypt, the things that were constructed in those times were quantum jumped, and information was being retrieved by those that conceived the pyramids, for instance, and they just kept doing it and bring that information from the quantum field so they could then construct these devices. They're devices to my mind.
Do you have any more inspiring stories on how quantum jumping has enhanced your life? Testimonials of,
Yeah, I've got one of my group members. She's fantastic. She's really done this work very quickly. She's delved into it. She's a psychic anyway, and she's been doing healing work, and she's now had her music career take off very, very rapidly, and she's gone from doing the odd gig now and again to, I think this actually just the last couple of weeks, because I had a break, and then we started doing it's like a 3-month break. We started doing the quantum jumping group again. She dived straight in, did a couple of jumps, and now her music career has taken right off. She's been in the recording studio this last few days, and been doing tours and getting invites from all over the place to do gigs. So I'm really pleased for her. She's really gone for it.
That's awesome. What about if anyone's watching, and this, I include myself, what if anyone's watching and they don't know what they want? That's a frustration of mine. I don't really know what I genuinely want. And could you quantum jump to meet a future version of yourself who does know what they want and help to bring that energy back?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. You can complete. You initially although we're intention setting, which is obviously part of the traditional manifestation work, we're allowing our subconscious or the superconscious, the quantum field, to guide us to the jump that we need to experience at that time. So we set the intention, but then we put the trust in the quantum field or the superconscious mind, the universal, multiversal mind, to guide us to where we need to go and experience what we need to experience at that time. And then we can bring back that information for inspiration. And then we can do the more targeted jumps where we go, okay, well, I want to go and visit that version of me again. Keep doing that. And then we can then, like I said, through practice, we can bilocate almost instantly just through going into, doing a semi-meditative practice like washing up, where we can sort of drift off and just do something automatically. We know we're doing that. So that's how the subconscious mind operates, of course. So on habit.
Cool. If you're watching this live or a replay, pop your questions, your comments for Craig in the box below, and we'll get to them either live or retrospectively, or rather Craig will. You obviously run groups on a regular basis. Do you think the group energy can enhance when you do a quantum jump? See quite a big group of people. Do you think that enhances the experience?
Absolutely. I think our groups are quite small at the moment, and totally up for having more people joining, of course. And if we do get, I was actually thinking about this last night, how if we can get, if we get 20 or 30 on or whatever, then we can, excuse me, my phone keeps going off, if you can hear the vibration. So it's a bit distracting. How we can just do so. They're on Zoom anyway, so we can do rooms as well, so people can pair up, or we can have 3 or 4 to a room, and that's the best way to integrate, is in groups, because we can share the experiences and share the emotions that come up in experiences. Say something that came up we wouldn't necessarily like to experience, but it needed releasing. That is much better when we integrate with a group of people that we feel comfortable with in a safe container. So my philosophy is to have integrity, to hold a safe container, facilitate that for people to have their experiences in, and then to integrate the experience in a safe way where we don't feel left out in the lurch. And I think quite often with things like the Burt Goldman work, that didn't allow for integration of your experience. So even if you did get somewhere, maybe you had a poor experience or something came up that you needed to integrate, there was a lack of that. So that's where oh, hi there, Rachel. Catching up on the replay. That's where my experience comes in with my training with shamanic work, as it were, comes in. So or do you get into a meditative state first? Consciously choose where to go. Effectively, we're using hypnosis to get into a meditative state or a hypnotic state, and that we set the intention first, and then we let the subconscious, the superconscious mind guide us to where we need to go, or the future version of ourselves, however we want to look at it. We can look at it in many ways.
Brilliant. So did you run a group? Is it every Sunday night, or just some Sundays, or just?
So every Sunday at the moment, and there's room for maybe 1 or 2 more sessions, depending on popularity, of course, and as things grow. Like I said, I've only taken it off again in sort of late December, and did a couple of jumps then. So the groups have been relatively small, but we've been building most weeks. Although we had a very small group last night, but then that provided for quite an intimate experience. So even the small groups are great, and yeah, there's 4 of us. So
Right. I know you mentioned you've got an app in the works, like an application for your phone.
Absolutely, yeah, and yeah, I'd like that to be for group people, for groups, and that can be taken into social groups. They could use it, for businesses and individuals as well, that maybe they want to jump. And we're going to have mapping as well, so you can see if your friends online that you were jumping with last week, something like that. So yeah, that's in progress at the moment, and we've got myself and fellow quantum jumper from our group who's going to do the sound recordings. It has the balance of male and female voices. People can choose, and perhaps maybe even do it internationally as well, and get some people in speaking other languages.
Wow, all cool stuff. Do you know yet when you're going to be off to the pyramids?
Not yet. We've got a podcast lined up. I think it's a couple of weeks' time now. I haven't got a date for it yet, but we've prospectively agreed 2 weeks-ish for that. And then as soon as that's launched, then we'll have a date. So early summer, so allow time for bookings.
Yeah, brilliant. Good for you.
Yeah,
so
great.
Exciting. So the burning question is, if people want to connect with you to do one of these quantum jumps on the next available Sunday, how do they do that?
Get in touch. I've got a group. It's called Infinite Mind, and you can probably find that and ask to join, or get in touch with me. If they're friends with you, then they should be able to contact me. I'll open up my ability to receive friend requests to the wider public now, actually, because it's just restricted. So I've got to get my privacy settings sorted, especially now as I'm doing some more lives and things. Allow some people to friend request me, and then I can either send an invitation or you can request to join the group.
Yeah, we can put links in the description after this broadcast, so people can just click on it at their leisure. Do you have any final thoughts, Craig?
Yeah, I think join in on the groups. It's exciting work, and yeah, so it's just gonna answer Diane. Yeah, it's 1,000% safe, absolutely. Just because we're working in the groups and that safe containers there, so there may be some fears coming up that often gets allayed by the friendliness of being in the group, and people sharing their experiences as well afterwards, so we don't get lost in our emotive states, and we can transmute those if we do have a experience that we may say, oh well, that wasn't manifesting something that I really want to manifest. Then we can transmute that through the group work, and I do encourage some integrative work that would normally go with the use of psychedelics and plant medicines, for instance, because I think that they should be integrated into all work of mystical and out of body work, and where we're going into to work with the quantum field.
You heard it here first. So as I say, we'll drop those descriptions and drop those links in the comments section after we're done, and everyone's invited. There is a very small fee, exchange of energy, but it's so small. It's like
£6. It's not
£6.
Yeah. It's great.
If that buys you a pint of beer these days.
Totally accessible. Yeah. And I had this discussion with someone. Someone sent me a sort of new age guru guy sent me this private message. He friend requested me, DM'd me, and said he's basically setting up communities, going to save the world. Couldn't do it all on his own. Needed people to join, heroes like me. Then I went into his group, had a look around, and it was £10,000 a year to work with the guy. And I thought, wow, that's quite something. You're like 30. And very limited life experience, I felt, in terms of what he was communicating. It sounded like he'd lived quite a nice life beforehand as well. It didn't sound like he'd been through too many struggles, and was just taking advantage quite a bit. And there's a lot of that flooding the scene now, lack of authenticity, and overcharging, which I totally don't believe in doing. The less we charge, the more people we can work with, and more people can see resolution for the issues they face. So.
Yeah, but sometimes some people can think if something's free or only £6, they don't give it the value. But I suppose when the time's right, if you need to start charging more to sustain yourself, or to bring more
We'll
aspects into
charge
your
more
work.
for the courses, and they'll be a bit more expensive, and you'll get a more lengthy access to myself and Trevor as well. So there's that'll be a bit more intimate and a bit more involved, of course. So yeah, sure, but prices can go up, but the group work, I think, can stay at that price point for now anyway.
Yeah. Okay, Craig, thanks very much for joining me this morning. Thank you to those who are on the live stream, Shameen, Ken, Diana, anybody else who didn't drop by and say hi.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, much love to everyone. Until the next one, bye for now.
Thank you.